Captain Rick Rock TV. Let's get to the content.
All right, let's get to it. The moment that we all been waiting for, the autopsy of Nolan Wells has been released. This is going to show us exactly what happened. They said it was injuries. This is what the people said when they seen him. It looked like he was beaten. It looked like he was bruised, looked like he was burnt, so forth. And we all been waiting for this autopsy. There can no longer be talks about what they think happened. Now we gonna know what happened. Let's get over here. This is Ben Crump. He's about to talk about it. Let's go check it out and see what this autopsy revealed. Let's go.
Preliminary findings, and this is significant. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region. He said the etiology is unknown at this time. He said the body was received after the initial autopsy. He said the body had marked decompensation. He said corona incision of the scalp, brain removal, Y-shaped incision of the anterior torso, and he talked about the organs being removed as is common.
Yeah, that's common. I hear people in the background yelling. That's common. That's what they do. Yeah, let's continue with this though.
Accompanied in the body cavity. And that when you have an autopsy, the organs are removed from the body and they're dissected and examined. And then they're put back in a bag within inside the body. So when they're buried, their remains will all be with them. But in this occasion, if there's going to be a second autopsy, then the organs are put in the body cavity so the second pathologist could be able to examine the organs as well. Very significant for Dr. Mitchell was that the anterior inner neck structures were absent, not received with the body. And we'll explain that in just a minute. And then it talks about the additional procedures performed during the second autopsy, and we'll go into the paragraphs on that there because he explains it better in his narrative. So where's the first page of the discussion? Not the diagram yet. You can keep the diagram over there. Move this back, Lisa. So he talks in the preliminary discussion opinion. This forensic pathologist identified several limitations during the second autopsy that create barriers to establishing a definitive cause and manner of death for Nolan Xavier Wells. And that's important. He talks about the fact that we didn't get to see the body when it was first recovered, like the medical examiner working for Mississippi would have seen it.
All right, so he didn't get to see the body. They seen it first. So this is, I guess, the second examiner. Where's the first examiner report? That's what we want. We want to see both of them. Put them side by side, comparison. That's what we want to see. What they said happened and what this one said happened. Where is the first report? But let's check out this one. I guess this the one that the family and the lawyer Ben Crump, they had their second opinion and somebody examined the body. Let's check it out.
He talked about the second autopsy performed on Nolan Wells revealed marked decompensation or changes. Marked decompensation can obscure the presence and absence of bruising on the skin, surface, especially during a second autopsy examination. What he's saying, because the body was so decomposed that you couldn't tell if there was bruises or abrasions on the body when he received it on the 10th of July.
That sounds strange. Bruises on the body so you couldn't determine. Matter of fact, let me take that back just a little bit because that sounded kind of strange to me.
The medical examiner working for Mississippi would have seen it. He talked about the second autopsy performed on Nolan Wells revealed marked decompensation or changes. Marked decompensation can obscure the presence and absence of bruising on the skin surface, especially during a second autopsy examination. What he's saying, because the body was so decomposed that you couldn't tell if there was bruises or abrasions on the body when he received it.
So it seems like this could be an intentional cover up so you can't see no bruises. They know exactly what they doing. They know exactly what they doing, man. So now there's no proof of it being any bruises on the body. That's what it sounds like he's saying to me. What y'all think?
On the 10th of July. For these reasons, additional dissection procedures not performed during the first autopsy examination were performed to rule out potential blunt force injuries responsible for the death. These procedures included facial dissection, posterior head and neck dissection, dissection of the ribs, the pelvic, dissection of the subcutaneous and deep soft tissue, dissection of the back, the buttocks, the arms and legs. He did all of this to rule out things. He ruled out there were no fractures or deep tissue injuries identified. This was very important because he wanted to be very thorough and very transparent, because transparency is the key to getting to the answers of why Nolan Wells is not with us.
Now, I think he does a good job at what he do, but I think he needs to break it down more, because a lot of people don't understand what this is saying. He just reading. You need to break it down. You just mentioned a whole bunch of stuff. You need to tell us, it's a lot of people that don't know what you're talking about. So let's see if he gonna break it down as he go further into this.
So he did that there and was very straightforward, very
about what?
Open, very open. He says, however, dissection of the back of the head during the layered posterior neck dissection revealed a 12 by 8 inch focal area of red discoloration in the deep soft tissues overlaying the occipital bone. And he talked about how he found red discoloration when he cut open into the back of his head towards the occipital bone.
So do that mean he was hit with something? Do that mean he could have been hit with something?
And he saw the red discoloration, and we actually saw the pictures of it. It's significant. You can't help but notice, why is this dark red here in the back of his head? And so he was important to note that in his report.
And the first examiner said she didn't see no foul play. They all need to be in jail, man. Because if we got the second examiner who giving us all this information, why they couldn't give us this information? Red discoloration spot tissue on the back of the man's head. Could possibly mean that he been hit across and back of the head with something.
He said that etiology of this finding is unclear. There are no lacerations of the overlaying skin nor fractures of the underlying skull. These findings are inconclusive for perimortem injury due to both the extensive decomposition and the absence of associated injuries. This finding, however, is significant enough to be highlighted in this preliminary report for further investigation. It is important to reiterate that the finding could not have been observed in the first autopsy because the posterior head and neck dissection were not performed.
Wow. They ain't do their job on purpose. The first examiner, the lady, she didn't do her job. Probably got the body up in there, got the phone call, and thought it was going to be swept up under the rug. Didn't think it was going to be this big a deal. Didn't think Ben Crump was going to get involved. Didn't think what's his name? Sharpton was going to get involved. They didn't think all this. Oh, it was just, this is another case. We done had plenty of these. Just go ahead and get him out to get. We don't see nothing wrong. No foul play.
He said another limitation, move this back here. Another limitation faced by this forensic pathologist was the absence of the anterior internal neck structures. The trachea and the laryngeal cartilage, the thyroid horn, and the hyoid bone were not received with the body.
Why? Why was it not received with the body?
So he's saying that the throat was not received with the body.
Probably because it was broke.
When he got Nolan Wells' body in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. And so let's discuss that with what he said about that. He said, it is assumed that the initial pathologist retained these structures for additional evaluation. He said the retention of the anterior neck structures during an initial autopsy is a common forensic pathology practice. He was chief medical examiner for 7 years in Washington, D.C., and he said that if they had concern about throat or any fracture or compression of the throat, they too will hold them back. He doesn't know why they held the throat back, but he said the throat was not with the body of Nolan Wells when he received it in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy.
Now, why? Why? I want to know why. We need to double back on this, because everything they saying, it need to be a part two to this.
He said, nevertheless, a posterior neck dissection performed without review of the anterior neck structures is incomplete. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death.
Wow. Boy, neck probably was broken. Oh, they this man, this stuff is seen. This stuff is strange, man, and weird, man.
He said he would need to have the medical examiner in Mississippi allow him to review the throat. That's why he said his autopsy is undetermined pending investigation.
Wow. And if her ass don't turn it in, she need to be arrested and threw up under the jailhouse.
Remember, it's about transparency. Because the initial autopsy rightfully removed and dissected each organ, there are additional limitations inherent in the second autopsy of Nolan Wells. The most significant of the limitations was the inability to directly observe the airway and the lungs for water and directly observe the stomach for gastric contents. He said it is very significant as to what the initial forensic scientists who got to review the body when it was recovered. We have heard from my call center people saying the body wasn't waterlogged.
Right. It should show how much water was in the lungs.
Well, we need to know those things. But unfortunately, because the body was decomposed and the organs have already been dissected, those are things we can only get from the initial autopsy. So
they foul.
Therefore, again, the manner and cause of death is undetermined until further investigation. We are hopeful that the Mississippi Medical Examiner would give Dr. Mitchell an opportunity to see their photographs and their observations to the condition of Nolan Wells' body closer in time to July 4th. That is very important, and we have to continue to demand transparency, President Johnson.
So it might look like these people might get off. Whoever did these people are professionals at what they do. And this don't seem like this the first time that something like this happened. Because they did exactly what they were supposed to do to make sure that there's no traces that could determine what caused this death. This seemed like the greatest cover-up, all the way from the island they was at with no cameras, all the way to the medical examiner, to where she removing stuff, not giving it to the second examiner, holding the body long enough. Let's get back to this, man.
In addition, the original toxicology results have not been received at the time of this report. And we continue to wait for the toxicology to come back, because again, that will be part of the investigation into Nolan Wells' autopsy by Dr. Mitchell. It is significant to note that it's many things that go into toxicology that only Dr. Mitchell would be able to opine upon, and medical experts can opine upon. And he feels the proper place to do that is before a grand jury in a courtroom. And so we would hope that the district attorney would present Dr. Mitchell before the grand jury as well.
All right. So y'all can go over there. What is this, US Today? And check out the rest of this, man. I want to talk about what's his friend Warren. Warren did an interview. Finally came out and did an interview. We're going to do a reaction to that right after this one. That'll be up a little, probably about another hour after this one. But yeah, he did a reaction and explaining his friendship that he had with Nolan Wells, what transpired today of this. But this all seems suspicious to me with this examiner, man. At this point, it seemed like she's the one who covering up everything. Everything from what y'all just heard and from what I just heard. We're going to wait more and see if they have any more on this autopsy. This ain't gonna be the first video because Brian Crump, he take too long to break it down. He's not really. We gonna go to Willie D a little bit later and see what he got to say about this autopsy, man. I'm gonna get to that in another video. I'm gonna be on this all day. Leave y'all thoughts in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel. Share the video. Compton Rick Robert, Compton Rick Rock TV. Justice for Nolan Wells. I'll catch all of y'all on the next one.
Like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, Compton Rick Rock TV. Also, hit that notification bell and catch every video when I drop.